Welcome to Idlewild Cottage, a quiet place where kindred spirits can linger together over a cup of tea, savoring all things lovely and cozy. My name is Juliana, and I'm delighted to have you. Each episode here at the cottage will center around a theme. That theme will be celebrated in a number of ways through literature, art, nature, and even some favorite movie scenes. We'll cherish the sweet and simple things of life. So make yourself at home, and I'll put the kettle on. Did you ever read the Choose Your Own Adventure books that were popular in the 80s? As the name implies, these were adventure stories. However, they were stories with a twist. The reader became a character in the adventure, and as the plot unfolded from page to page, he or she had choices to make. It went something like this. When exploring the jungle, for example, you might be faced with two paths. Number one, follow this new tour guide to see where he might take you. Turn to page 45. Or two, choose to forge ahead on your own, trusting your great grandfather's old map. Turn to page 33. Your fate was in your hands. Ultimately, one choice might result in the discovery of lost treasure. The other could lead to certain destruction. Well, during our time together today, we're going to do a bit of our own choosing, but in a much cozier fashion and with no consequences attached. Also, you might have noticed that this week's episode is what I'm calling a wee cuppa. It's like a brief afternoon tea, but I hope just as warm and inviting as a full length episode. As we usher in the month of November, I'd like us to rely on our imaginations. To guide our thoughts, I'll be drawing on favorite stories and passages. These selections will inspire the choices we'll make here at Idlewild Cottage. So, to start us off, imagine we're gathered together here at the cottage on a November afternoon. The first decision before us is this. What is the weather like today? I'll present you with two options. The first takes place in Anne's House of Dreams. The splendor of color which had glowed for weeks along the shores of Four Winds Harbor had faded out into the soft gray blue of late autumnal hills. There came many days when fields and shores were dim with misty rain, or shivering before the breath of a melancholy sea wind, nights, too, of storm and tempest. Our second weather option is found in Gladys Tabor's Still Meadow Daybook. Some of the days in November carry the whole memory of summer as a fire opal carries the color of moonrise. These are the days I especially love when the air lies soft and quiet over the dreaming earth and just a few late fallen leaves drift like upside down stars. All right, kindred spirits, do you choose a brooding melancholy wind or a soft and dreamy atmosphere for our November day? There are no wrong answers, by the way. Okay, now that we've decided on the weather, let's choose how we'll spend our time together. Perhaps, like Anne Shirley, you have schoolwork to do, or maybe you simply enjoy the solitude of a favorite book. Anne was curled up on the hearth rug, gazing into that joyous glow where the sunshine of 100 summers was being distilled from the maple cordwood. She had been reading, but her book had slipped to the floor, and now she was dreaming, with a smile on her parted lips. Or maybe you'd like to share this afternoon with a few kindred spirits, as described, again by Gladys Tabor, this time in the Book of Still Meadow. The indoor delights of November call for crisp apples and plenty of hot popcorn in bowls on the old hearth, for reading aloud, for folk songs on the phonograph. Expand our circle of friends just a bit, and a glimpse into a plum field fireside in Louisa May Alcott's Little Men might be more your style. All were glad to gather round the hearth to play games or lay plans for the winter. But the favorite amusement was storytelling, and Mr. and Mrs. Bear were expected to have a store of lively tales always on hand. If you seek even more lively activity, you and Betsy Ray will get along famously. Here's an excerpt from Heaven to Betsy. When the corn was popped and buttered, more apples were brought out, and the girls started peeling them and throwing the peelings around. The peelings were supposed to make letters, and the letters were supposed to represent the initials of future husbands. Now, these settings are all well suited for a blustery, brooding fall day, but if you've chosen a lovely November day as our setting, perhaps you'd prefer to be outdoors enjoying a picnic. We'll take our inspiration from Lucy Maud Montgomery's The Story Girl. We had a beautiful day for a picnic. November dreamed that it was May. The air was soft and mellow, with pale aerial mists in the valleys. The wind made a sweet, drowsy murmur in the boughs. It was a merry little feast, and we did ample justice to Felicity's good things. The picnic over, we played games until the early falling dusk. Or, like our friends in Alcott's book, Jack and Jill, perhaps an afternoon on the river is just the thing. They were a merry flock, for the mellow autumn day was even brighter and clearer than yesterday, and the river looked its loveliest, winding away under the somber hemlocks. Two large boats and two small ones held them all, and away they went, through three bridges and round the bend, then, turning where a grove of oaks rustled their sere leaves and the squirrels were still gathering acorns. I wonder what you chose today. You might have chosen a windy, drizzly setting, perfectly suited to reading a book, swapping stories, or playing games by the fire. Or maybe you preferred to envision a dreamy afternoon in the outdoors, filled with games, boating, or a picnic. However, you envision this November day at Idlewild Cottage, let's come together for one more cup of tea as I share today's poem. Or perhaps you'd prefer a cup of hot cider. The choice is up to you. The following stanza was written by Laura Ingalls Wilder in 1916. I strolled today down a woodland path. A crow cawed loudly and flew away. The sky was blue and the clouds were gold and drifted before me fold on fold. The leaves were yellow and red and brown, and patter, patter the nuts fell down on this beautiful golden autumn day. It seems Laura is favoring the soft and dreamy kind of a November day. But if you've chosen to rest cozily inside while the storms and tempests brew without, then I have just the psalm for you. From Psalm 57. Be gracious to me, O God. I will take refuge in the shadow of your wings till the storms pass by. Kindred spirits, whether you are walking in sunshine today or tucked away weathering a storm, may you feel the shadow of God's wings surrounding you with love. Thank you for joining me today, dear ones. Please come again soon to Idlewild Cottage.